I am very excited for today's episode because I will be doing something a little different. I'm going to be asking and answering 10 this or that questions, artist edition. These are highly relatable questions to my fellow artists out there who are listening. I'm sure you thought about these things not once, not 3 times, but probably 100 times during your art process. We have a lot to cover today, but before we get started, I want to thank all of my listeners for joining me today on my day on canvas. My name is Summer Silvery and I am an artist, just trying to figure it all out. If you are interested in learning more about me or checking out my art, be sure to click the link in the description. There are all of my links provided in that one link. So question number 1, it starts off before even putting paint to a canvas. Do I use the same canvas size or do I use multiple sizes? When I very first started painting, I bought a pack of canvas panels of all different sizes on Amazon. It had 5x7s, 8x10s, 11x14s. So I used those to kind of start off and learn about acrylic paint. That's what I use as my paint medium. And I wanted to test out the palette knives and stuff to learn about textures and mixing and blending and stuff like that. So I immediately started off using different sizes for my canvases, and my canvases were canvas panels. And for those of you who don't know what canvas panels are, they are basically just kind of like a thick board, and it's pretty hard. Like, it has a sheet of canvas glued on it. So it's like a board with canvas on the front. So I was already working with multiple different sizes for canvases, and I was working with a canvas that I didn't even realize was available. I just got it off Amazon. There was a bunch of them, and then I started painting on them. It didn't take me long to realize that using acrylic paint and water and other art mediums on a canvas panel was not as good as using it on a stretched canvas. So then I started buying actual canvases that had a thick sides on them and stuff, and the kind of canvases that you see hanging on people's walls. So I started with different sizes there, and I grew them from 16x20s to 36x36 to 48x60. And those sizes are just as big as me. I'm 5'5". So those canvases were huge. So in a span of 6 months, I was going from a 5x7, which is the size of a picture, to 48x60, which is almost the size of me. And to go back to the question of, do you keep the canvas size the same or do you work on multiple sizes? I would say both, but for different reasons. Work on the different sizes for yourself to learn how to balance your paintings on larger scale canvases or smaller scale. It's a totally different ball game when you have a 48x60 canvas that you have to balance out while you're painting it. One side can't just be really heavy and then the other side is just not. I had to learn that the hard way by wasting a ton of paint. And that is something else that is kind of a downfall of working with multiple canvas sizes is you can't really budget properly in the beginning of your artist journey if you're using multiple canvas sizes, because your paint goes a lot quicker with larger canvases than it does smaller ones. And if you're deciding to ship them yourself, if you're selling your paintings, you have to deal with a lot of different kinds of packaging materials for your canvases. I mean, a 5x7 can fit in an envelope. A 48x60 cannot fit in a standard SUV. It requires something bigger than that. So this question, the answer all just depends on you as an artist and what you're doing with those canvases. Question number 2, paint brands. Should you purchase cheap or expensive brands of paint? And for me, I am specifically thinking about acrylic paint, and I would say buy both. If you're first starting out, I would definitely just get a bundle of acrylic paint from Amazon, get that shipped to you, and figure out how to use it. I did that with acrylic paint and acrylic pouring paint, and I had so much fun learning the differences of the two, and I did not feel bad wasting, I'm doing air quotes as I'm saying that, the paint because I was learning as I was going. And then if you buy the expensive paint later, you kind of know how to make that go a long way. Now, the next question I'm sure my fellow artists have thought about when painting and after the painting is done. And that is, do you paint on the side of your canvases or do you leave the sides blank? Oh my gosh, I have such a hard time figuring this out. Because if you are like me and you're an abstract artist and there are so many different colors on the front of your canvas, how are you going to put that on the sides of your canvas? Like, there's no way. There's no way. So I think that for this question, the answer has to be, it depends on what you're painting, because there are some paintings that you can get away with just doing solid colors on the sides. And then there are other paintings where you have to paint it white or cover it because you got paint on the sides from flinging the paint or doing weird techniques where the paint just leaks on the sides and then it's just there. And you don't want the person who purchases the painting to hang it up and then have the messy sides, or do you? Do you want them to have the messy sides because that's a part of the painting? So I think it's based off preference, what you think feels finished to you. If it doesn't look finished and it just kind of looks like it's out of place on the sides of your painting and you're just like, okay, I need to cover this up, then that's what you do. I think that just has to be the answer for this one, is it just depends on the painting. Question number 4 is, do you varnish your painting or do you leave it unvarnished? And for those of you who don't know what varnish is, it's just a protectant, clear layer that you add after you're done painting. And it basically makes the colors in your painting more vibrant. And it also adds a glossy touch to your painting if you choose a glossy varnish. I do. And then it also protects your painting as well from any kind of just dust or weird particles and stuff like that. It adds a layer of protection to your painting. For me, the answer is yes, I would varnish it. Varnish looks absolutely amazing when you're done with your painting. It actually looks like it's leveled up once you're finished, because after you're done with all of your colors and you're happy with the way that your painting looks, you add the final touch of the varnish and it's like next level. I absolutely love when my paintings are varnished. It's just a no-brainer. So yes, varnish, 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 all the way varnish. So for question number 5, it is definitely an artist's preference. And the question is, do you add a hanger to the back of your finished painting or do you not add one? Do you leave that to the person who purchases it? And for me, for all my large canvases, like my 36 by 36 or my 48 by 60s, the ones that are just as big as myself, I add a hanger to that. What I use is a thick enough wire that goes from one side to the other side. I staple the wire to the canvas, and this is obviously on the back of it. And I make it so that when it hangs up on the wall, it is perfectly hung. It's not like drooping or doing anything weird. It's perfectly leveled and I've measured it perfectly. And that way, when I go to sell my paintings, it takes away the guessing game of how am I going to hang this piece of art for the person who is purchasing it. I guess the only downfall though is if the person purchasing it has a different idea in their head of how they want to hang it. But if that's the case, they can just take the staples out and get rid of the wire and handle it themselves. So I would say for me personally, I add the hanger to my larger canvases, but other artists may think differently and obviously use different ways of hanging their art as well. So this is definitely a question that is answered with an artist's preference. Question number 6. Providing prices on your website for paintings or providing an inquiry form for those interested in the paintings. This is a question that I think about in my head and I've never said out loud, and I've never really put action to figuring it out. Like, I have no idea about this question. I don't know how to answer it. I look at different artists and how they present their art on their websites all the time. I look at the way that they're charging their art. I'm looking at the way that they're displaying it. Are they showing the back? Are they showing that they have a hanger? They don't have a hanger. Are they varnished? What does their description look like? Like, I'm looking at everything. And a lot of artists, they have an inquiry form where they're not saying the price of their art. They want you to ask them. And I can see the benefit of that just by getting true inquiries, like people who are actually interested in your art rather than people who are going to your website, putting your art in their cart and then like abandoning the cart, because that kind of lowers the conversion rates and stuff like that for your website. But I don't know. Do you do this when you get bigger? Like your art becomes like way more expensive, or is it something that you can do at a beginning level? I have no idea. I really don't have an answer for this. I just wanted to put this in here because I figured other artists probably saw this too and were wondering the same thing. I wish I had an actual answer, but I don't know. A lot of these questions, the answers are artists' preferences, but I'm just curious to know why people even do that, because I have no idea. And this is the perfect segue into question number 7, because it's going to be the hard one to answer. How much do you charge for your art? And when do you adjust the prices? When do you make them go up? And the best way I can answer this is it's nobody's business how much you charge for your own art, because it all depends on where you are in your art career and what you feel is right to charge for your art. Nobody can tell you the price of it. With that being said, though, if you have absolutely no idea where to start for pricing your art, I would start with looking at people who are in a similar medium as you, working with similar sizes as you, and see how they're pricing their art, and then go from there. Question number 8 is selling your art locally or online. I'm actually really excited to hear from you guys on this one. I feel like for me to answer this, I have to kind of break it down into the benefits of selling locally versus online. And when you're first starting out and you want to sell your art, and let's go back to question 6, and you don't know how to price it, the perfect way to figure that out is to selling it locally, because you can get feedback from people face to face. They can ask about the prices. But not only that, they ask about the process. They ask about what your paintings are about, and you're able to explain your process and tell the story of how you created it and what inspired you. And being able to talk out loud about your work and the process makes the painting priceless. That is something I learned when I first started selling locally. Oh my gosh, there were so many things that I didn't realize came with all of it. And being an introvert, oh my gosh, I was so nervous because I actually had to talk to people. I had to talk to people face to face about my paintings. And I thought I was going to choke. But really, nobody knew better than me my process in every single one of my paintings. So I was able to talk really, really easily to the people about where I started, what made me think to do the painting, how I started, and what painting products I used and stuff like that. It came a lot easier than I thought it would. So selling your art locally, there's a lot of benefits to that. You get to build a personal connection with a person who is interested in buying your painting, and you can kind of navigate the prices that you have. You get direct feedback on whether or not they're too expensive by the amount of people who are purchasing your paintings or not. And you don't have to worry about shipping processes and packaging material and stuff like that, especially if you're working with multiple size canvases. You have different kinds of shipping materials and packaging. That's a lot of stuff that you would have to worry about if you were only selling online. The anxiety of getting your original painting to the person who purchased it all in one piece and not damaged. That's a great peace of mind when you are selling your art locally. Selling your art online too has its benefits. And those are, if you like the entire process of being hands-on with your art and then being able to customize the shipping experience by packaging it the way that you want, writing them a letter and packing that in with the art and shipping it off to them, that is nice and cozy and personal, and you don't have to leave your house except to take it to the post office to ship. That's nice. And for a lot of people, that's very helpful because maybe they don't have a place where they can sell their art locally, or they even want to. There are different options for artists, which is amazing in today's world, where you're able to sell your stuff online. especially when you're trying to build a community online and a following. You can get a lot of feedback online as well from people who have purchased your art and they love the process, they love the packaging, they loved your letter and your personalized touches to that whole entire buying experience. They take photos of the piece of art that they bought and they post it online. They make comments, you reply. That helps build your following too on social if that is something that you're looking into or interested in. There are a lot of benefits to both. Like all the other questions, the answer is the artist's personal preference. For me, the final answer to this question is to do both because they both benefit you in different ways. Question number 9, selling your art on social and your website or just on your website? For me, this is an easy answer because for some reason, nowadays, social media isn't just about being social with family, friends, and people all around the world. It's about selling things and shopping and making things way quicker to check out in. So I would say both because you're already adding your social links to your website and you're already adding your website to your social links. So you might as well just link it all together. Question number 10, creating collections of your art or one-offs / different themed paintings. So for me, this question is kind of different because my goal as an artist is to create collections and then sell them every couple months. Like I take a couple months and I create a collection and then I release the collection. But right now where I am as a beginner artist, I am creating all different kinds of art. One, so that I can learn about different techniques and styles and figure out which ones I enjoy. And then 2, because I don't have the luxury of creating collections and then selling them thinking that people are going to buy them because I don't have a community big enough since I'm just starting out to know that I'm even creating the art. So right now I am doing the different themed paintings, but I am working towards creating a collection. So I don't, that's my answer, I guess. I'm going to sneak in a bonus question number 11, because I feel like this is an important one to cover too. Building a community versus building your skill sets. So let me break this question down a little bit. When you are supposedly wanting to build a community and a following on your social platforms, you want to show your audience what you're doing, your art, your process, all of that stuff. But sometimes that can be difficult to balance the two because you just want to create the art. You don't want to think about like, okay, I got to set up this camera or this phone and put it here. And then I can get this shot and now I've got to edit the video. Now I've got to upload the video, but what about the sound for it? And then I've got to figure this out. It's easy to get kind of lost in the weeds trying to figure everything else out just so that you can show your community what you're learning and your process for your art. So do you take the time to step away from building a following and your social so that you can build your skill sets? Or do you find a way to balance the two so that you can not only grow your audience, but also build your skill sets and not get lost in the weeds worrying about everything all at once? My answer to this question is create a way for you to show the world your skill sets and your process in a way that feels super natural to you. Like it just flows with your day and your routine, or you would do it anyway, so it's not that big of a deal and it doesn't put you out any more than it needs to. For example, this podcast, My Day on Canvas, this is a way for me to build my community of like-minded people like you guys by talking about the things I'm trying to figure out and the things that I've experienced throughout my day or just throughout this whole process in general. And this doesn't put me out in any way. It doesn't overwhelm me. But other things that I've done in my past to kind of share my process and stuff has, like being on video. I would get too distracted with the editing process and all the nitty-gritty details of that. So doing this audio, yeah, you have to edit the audio and figure out the marketing stuff and all that. But it's not nearly as overwhelming to me as the other stuff. So being able to do this podcast and just working on audio rather than video really helps me focus on the important things that I need to focus on. And talking out loud about my day and talking out loud about what I've learned helps tremendously. Because I am alone so much in what I'm doing, it's very helpful to get these ideas and these thoughts and all of this stuff out of my head. And I plan to do it anyways in my day. So doing it via this podcast is a great way to not only build my community, but build my skill sets. So there are definitely ways that you can do both at the same time. And I can't tell you which way works best for you because only you know that. So there it is. We have reached the end of the 10 This or That Questions Artist Edition. This is officially the longest podcast episode I have done on my day on Canvas. I would more than love to hear any feedback or answers you guys have to these questions. There are some that I need some help on, and I would love to hear what you guys have to say. Thank you so much for making it all the way through episode 14 of My Day on Canvas. I will meet you at the next one.